So today is going to be a little scatterbrained because I want to test my vertical recording as well as my horizontal recording. So when you're watching this video on YouTube, you should see one way that it's operating, but live over on Suris Live, there would be a vertical version of this playing as well. So yeah, I hopefully have got this figured out to where it's going to work. But anyway, Right Wing Watch has showed us a lot of things that we have covered over the years, but anytime that Joel Webbin comes up, I get a little excited because he almost always says the stupidest shit that he possibly can say. And this time, I don't think it's going to be any different. The only thing that I'm curious about is why this is cropped as weird as it is. But yeah, I guess we'll take a look here at what Timu Matt Walsh has to say. What do you got for us today, Joel?
Women in positions, formal positions of civil governing authority, are God's judgment on a nation, his punishment on a nation.
So women being able to have leadership positions is God punishing us? Okay, so first of all, if you didn't want it to sound kinky, then you shouldn't have made it sound so fucking kinky. God's punishment is a woman dominating us? Okay, fine. Yeah, absolutely. Secondly, I don't really care if women are in power. I think that women are just as capable as men in power. I don't think there's anything special about men that make us any better or worse at leading. And anytime somebody says, oh, well, actually, the men can lead better because they don't have the periods, my guy, I think that women having a period is probably one of the best examples of why they should be leaders, because if they can handle their shit and not rip my fucking head off when it's their time of the month, I think they can handle a country a little better at that point, because they have a lot more experience with something actually making, like, putting a fuck ton of inside pressure. Aki Breeze says, Suris, but Pebis make you strong. Yeah, Pebis make me strong. Pebis make me strong. Okay, anyway, no, you're never gonna have a good logical argument behind why women should not be able to lead. You're never going to find one.
Because if you think, what could hurt a nation? God's rod of discipline, punishment for a nation.
His rod of discipline with women in my guy, this is just a sex thing for you. This has to be a sex thing for you. There is no way where it is not just a sex thing for you. That's you cannot convince me that that is not what it is. I feel like with a lot of these conservative people, a lot of the time, they have a position that necessarily requires you to blink a couple of times so that you can just go, is that really what the fuck you meant? What are you talking about? Because it's like when you get these conservative pundits who are really against trans people, and then you find out that, like, their search history is covered with trans women, and then you get a bunch of these people who speak at CPAC about how bad it is to be gay or some shit because of God, and then, like, the numbers of male escorts that get to eat good that day, pun entirely intended, skyrockets the minute that the Conservative Action Committee comes to town. Like, these things are not phenomenons. I've mentioned before, and I think it is the case, that it is a sexual fetish for many of these people. They want women to take control of them, but they have to make it taboo or it's not cool anymore. They have to keep doing that. Midnight Rider says, shit, they really have to use religion for their shitty opinions? They have to. So the reason that people will use religion for a shitty opinion like this is because logic cannot do it. You need to have the idea of your position being unassailable because God said it was unassailable, and if you don't do that, it's very hard to make this position sound cogent. But again, I'm gonna stick by what I said before. I think it's a sexual fetish thing. The reason that you get so many people that try to legislate against trans people is because they desperately need it to be taboo when they find out that, like, girls with penises are a thing that they love. you need these people to have like a God telling them that it's bad to be gay so that when they sleep with the man, the shame can be part of it for them. Also, give me Yondarius. Thank you for subscribing. I appreciate it. Likewise, when you get Joel Webbin here saying like, no, God's punishment on all of us for the bad things that the United States has been doing is going to be that women will be able to be in charge, I think it's because he likes the idea of a woman dominating him, and he really, 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 absolutely, desperately needs that to be a taboo. Otherwise, he just can't get off to it.
In idolatry, a nation that's rebelling against him. God looks at a nation like that and says, they're disobedient, they must be disciplined, and it has to.
Also, can I just say, it's really funny to me that once upon a time, God's way of smiting a nation for being disobedient to him was sending plagues. Once upon a time, it was famine, and now it's women are in charge. I think he's gone soft. Does anybody else think God's gone soft if that's the case? Sorry, but that feels like God is doing pussy shit at that moment. Like, again, pun entirely intended.
Hurt so they might come to their senses and repent. And when God thinks I need discipline that will hurt this nation currently in rebellion, he thinks I know what will hurt women in leadership. Nothing hurts more than women in leadership. Again, it's a sexual thing for him. Robbie says God's not even breathing hard. It sounds like God's gone fully flaccid. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, he used to visit plagues upon us when we disobeyed. We used to have people say that, like, the tornadoes are coming because we allowed people to fuck men who are also men. But no, now he's just women in charge. That's God's punishment. My guy, I cannot take you seriously. Nothing you're saying registers to me as anything other than a flagrant joke. What's the line from the Joker in Batman Beyond the movie? I'd be laughing if it weren't so pathetic, or it'd be funny if it weren't so pathetic. Hell, I'll laugh anyway. That line, I can't remember it. Maybe K Fox will throw the line here.
You make me laugh, but only because I think you're kind of pathetic. Stop that!
And then Warner Brothers will copyright strike me. That'll be funny. Which is worse, plagues and famines or girl bosses? According to this guy, it's girl bosses.
Women in formal leadership, because they will do exactly the opposite of everything that leads to prosperity and life and blessing.
So women will always do the exact opposite of what leads to prosperity and life and blessing. Okay, so I like how he coaches this, again, in religious language, because he can't say, like, oh, this leads to a stable society. He can't say, oh, this will lead to the economy being bad or worse. No, it's going to be a society that is blessed by a god, specifically. It needs to be that when a woman is in charge, something bad happens that we necessarily cannot measure, so that we can't fact check him, because you're never able to fact check God. And I'm not saying that in the sense of, like, you know, God's not here to show us his thesis. No, I mean, like, literally, when somebody says God did a thing, there is no way to know whether God did a thing or whether there is some amount of circumstance that has been involved with that thing. There's no way to know the difference. You can't know the difference. And so, because you can't know the difference, anybody like this is always going to be able to just point to that as an attribution. So, like, okay, female leader gets in office somewhere, somehow, and then suddenly you get a bunch of issues where the area goes arid and you can't have as good of a crop yield, and so suddenly things become more expensive. Now, that could be because of climate change. Also, hi, Riddle of Lightning. Been showing off a lot of your artwork over on the Magic Channel. Anyway, it could be just circumstantial. Climate change happened, but, like, suddenly you're gonna get a Joel Webbin type that goes, see, the women got in charge, and now I have to pay $1 more for strawberries. Like, you can never argue cause and effect with these people because their brains are so fundamentally broken on how cause and effect works.
And the nation will be crushed under their incompetent, deceptive, and foolish leadership.
So the women are the incompetent ones. Ignore the fact that we have Trump in office. And the women are necessarily the ones who are deceitful. My guy, have you met literally any politician?
Have you seen Ted Cruz run away to different countries every time Texas gets a little cold? My guy, for a guy who was born in fucking Canada, he sure does pussyfoot away the minute that a little ice comes on the road. It's weird, but it's also evidence of how disingenuous he is as a politician. He is not a man that I can take seriously. And that's kind of how I feel with a lot of politicians like him and JD Vance and Greg Abbott. Every time one of them opens their mouths, I feel like they are trying to fucking lie to me about something. And here you are saying like, oh no, it's specifically the women. Those are the deceitful ones. Because Adam and Eve happened one time like a million years ago, and now I'm mad about that. I still hold a grudge about that, even though I was never there.
And eventually they will cry out and say, God, save us from this gynocracy. Save us from this
gynocracy. A gynocracy. I've never heard that fucking word before. Gynocracy? Gynocracy. Guys, I need to start using that. A fucking gynocracy. Now, again, we have never had, except for the time that the throat goat Nancy Reagan was technically in charge for about a year or two, we've never had a time where we have had a woman as the supreme leader of America. We've never had a woman as the president. We have had one as the vice president, but we've never had one as the president. Oh, we've tried. We keep throwing very unelectable people in that slot to try. We tried with Hillary, and like, I don't think anybody was a fan of her, even when they, like, aside from a handful of people that were, like, really, really feminism pilled at the time, it was very hard to make Hillary seem electable. Miss Pokemon Go to the polls definitely seemed like a joke at the time. And then you get Kamala Harris, where an entire narrative was able to be made about her the absolute nanosecond that she was not only vice president, because if you remember, even lefties were just kind of scrutinizing that, going, why are you grabbing the person who incarcerated fucking thousands? Why is that your girl? But not only did we have that, but we also had the fiasco where a ready-made argument for the Democratic Party being this authoritarian shit was baked and handed to conservatives on a silver platter because they let Kamala Harris be the one that became the nominee instead of anybody else. And I know there are reasons behind that, the reason being that we desperately needed the funds that had already been raised to be able to be legally held by the next candidate so that they could actually have a fighting chance against Trump. And, you know, that's why we were where we were. But aside from that, I don't think many people were really on board with Harris on the further left, because she could not say Israel is severely harming Gazans. Like, at the very least, she would always default back to this Israel has a right to defend theirself thing, and that made it very hard for her to be elected. But again, none of that has to do with her being a woman. But I think people like Joel Webbin are desperately scared of a woman taking office. Again, they can't give any good argument as to why a woman shouldn't hold a measure of power. The argument's always going to boil down to religion. And when it's boiling down to religion, it's in an area that we can no longer criticize because it is encased in dogma.
We earned it by our rebellion and our idolatry. We earned your rod, and the rod has written on it, women and...
We earned your rod. Again, I promise you this is a sex thing. It has to be. There is no world in which it is not.
Leadership. We earned it. We deserved it. We repent in dust and ashes. We cannot take another day of women leading our government. Please have mercy.
Jesus fucking Christ. What a fucking pussy. I'm serious. I cannot fathom what it takes to be the guy who wakes up in the morning desperately scared that a woman might tell him what to do one day. He desperately, like it is either that he needs the idea of women in authority to be taboo because that is his fetish, or he desperately needs men to dominate him. And believe you me, with all of this talk about God's rod, no matter which way we slice it, that is a very fucking funny thing. Hey, you made it to the end. I want to give an extra thanks to the patrons who allow me to do this full time. I want to thank Aaron Rail, Astral, Britzkrieg, Jemshin, Poundini, Red Joker, Victoria, Jonas, Craig, Tarika, Fireshard, Smiling GM, John, Dren Hadamada, Creeper, Sagitta, you know I'm not saying that last part, Sylvie Snow, Valis of Seraph, Ottoman Angel, Rooster Rachel, and Fire Panda, who are all my $20 and up patrons.